The tale commences with Gwen Stacy giving a brief account of how Miles Morales transformed into Spider-Man. Although Gwen never intended to harm Miles, her preoccupation led her to miss the end of a song while playing the drums. Her bandmates grew concerned and tried to reach out, but Gwen refused to engage with them, storming out in anger. As the vigilante Spider-Woman, she had always felt alone until she met Miles, discovering she wasn't the only one with superpowers. Before knowing Miles, Gwen was best friends with Peter Parker, who worked part-time for the Daily Bugle and covered stories about Spider-Woman at school. Unfortunately, Peter became a target of bullying, prompting him to take a serum that transformed him into the lizard. Gwen hoped to find Peter at the prom, only to encounter him in his rampaging lizard form at school. Tragically, Peter died in the ensuing fight, and Gwen learned he had known her secret identity and wanted to be unique like her. The loss of her best friend deeply affected Gwen, and when Captain George Stacy discovered Spider-Woman at the scene of Peter's death, he wrongly assumed she was responsible. This led to an intense manhunt to bring her to justice. Returning home, her father informed Gwen about a breakthrough in the Spider-Woman case, bringing them closer to apprehending her. Later, a report came in about Vulture breaking into the Guggenheim Museum, prompting Gwen to suit up as Spider-Woman and rush to the scene. She encountered Vulture, but he appeared different from what she expected, leading her to suspect he was from an alternate dimension. In their confrontation, Vulture nearly defeated her, but a portal suddenly opened, and a masked stranger named Miguel O'Hara emerged to rescue her. Miguel revealed himself as being from another dimension and explained that he led an elite strike force dedicated to preserving the multiverse's security. As Miguel and Gwen struggle to handle Vulture alone, they realize they need backup. Another Spider-Woman arrives on a bike, and together, they charge at Vulture. However, Vulture manages to escape outside and attacks a chopper, sending it crashing toward them. Gwen spots her father and civilians in harm's way and springs into action. She creates a massive web to catch and cushion the chopper's fall, while they use their strength to lower it down slowly, allowing people to move to safety. With everyone saved, Gwen takes a moment to catch her breath, only to be taken by surprise as her father sneaks up from behind and holds her at gunpoint. She is forced to surrender and reveals herself as Spider-Woman, leaving her father, Captain Stacy, shocked. He upholds justice and attempts to bring her in, but Gwen's reasoning falls short. Miguel intervenes, trapping her father in a spiderweb, and extends an invitation for Gwen to join his team back in Brooklyn. Miles Morales, a year into his role as Spider-Man, faces a new villain named Spot, who possesses the ability to open wormholes. Spot attempts to rob a convenience store, but Miles shows up to stop him. Struggling to defeat Spot due to his peculiar abilities, Miles faces distractions from his father's incessant texting, knowing he has an appointment with a career officer. To buy time, Miles quickly ties a body part to every wormhole Spot creates, immobilizing him temporarily. Rushing to his dorm, he finally arrives late for his appointment. However, Miles' Spanish grade raises concern for his mother, given his Hispanic background. He explains that his grade suffered because he missed a few classes. The career officer informs them that Miles skipped 6 classes in the past year, but suggests there may still be a chance to salvage the situation. When his mother learns about his desire to study in New Jersey for access to the best quantum researchers at Princeton, she objects, considering it too far. Miles insists that it will help him figure out how to travel to other dimensions. Suddenly, Spot breaks free, prompting Miles to make an excuse and walk out on them. He quickly rushes out to confront Spot, and their fight takes them across town, with Miles' father chasing after them. Spot becomes furious when Miles refers to him as the villain of the week. In a peculiar turn of events, Miles' father tries to pull Spot's leg but accidentally gets pulled into a wormhole along with Miles and Spot. They find themselves at Alchemax, where Spot reveals he was created by Miles, who, in turn, made him into the villain Spot. He discloses that he once worked at Alchemax, where a spider from another dimension bit him, granting him spider powers. Spot claims that he was in the collider when Miles blew it up, leading to the loss of his job, life, and even his face, shaping him into the vengeful entity he is now. Spot charges at Miles in a fit of rage but accidentally kicks himself, falling into his wormhole, which allows him to travel to various dimensions, granting him the power of the multiverse. Meanwhile, Peter Parker from Earth 13122 notices Spot's anomaly through a wormhole and alerts Miguel. Miles hurries back home with a cake for his father's celebration but faces a series of villainous encounters, making him extremely late for the party. Missing his father's toast, his parents notice his year-long distractions and demand answers. Tensions rise, leading to an argument, and Miles walks out, sulking in his room. At this moment, Gwen appears and invites him to explore Brooklyn with her. She opens up about her activities in the Spider Society over the past few months. After Gwen leaves to surveil Spot's apartment for her mission, Miles continues to sulk, gazing at the horizon. His mother advises him to go after Gwen but asks him to promise to take care of himself and return home when he's done. Motivated, Miles suits up and follows Gwen back to Spot's apartment, using invisibility to stay unnoticed. Using a device, Gwen replays what happened at Spot's apartment, revealing his plan to recreate a miniaturized version of the collider to generate more spots and travel to other dimensions. Jess gets furious with Gwen for meeting with Miles instead of focusing on her mission. Meanwhile, Lila tracks down Spot, who can now create portals to any dimension. They follow Spot back to Moonbase, and Jess sends Gwen and the local Spider-Man from that dimension after him. When Gwen corners Spot, Miles shows up, and Spot escapes. The local Spider-Man, Predator Provoker, also joins the pursuit. Struggling to contain Spot, they reach Alchemax, where Spot creates a barrier to keep them away while he completes the collider sequence. Miles tries to use his electric powers, but Hobie breaks the barrier. Spot absorbs the collider's energy, disappearing while vowing to take everything away from Miles, just as he believes Miles did to him. The building collapses, and they rush outside to save civilians. During the chaos, they encounter a quantum hole at the bottom of the city. Jess and other spiders arrive to contain the situation, and Gwen and the others are summoned back to headquarters. Miles and the team return to HQ in Nueva York of Earth 928, where they find numerous alternate versions of Spider-Man. Gwen explains the people behind glass chambers are anomalies who wound up in different dimensions. They use the go-home machine to send them back to their original dimensions using DNA samples. Miles meets Miguel, the leader of the Spider Society, who is furious with him for disrupting a canon event, chapters that connect all the spiders in the web of the Spider-Verse. Anomalies like Spot's actions can be dangerous, disrupting these connections. Miguel discloses to Miles that Inspector Singh's death was a canon event, and Miles inadvertently changed the story by saving him. To make Miles understand the consequences better, Miguel explains how Prav's dimension is unraveling due to altered canon events. Miguel confesses that he, too, once broke a canon event when he replaced his version of a family in another dimension, leading to the destruction of the entire dimension. He cautions Miles that breaking enough canon events and saving enough captains could lead to the collapse of the entire Spider-Verse network. Miles later realizes that his father becoming captain is another canon event, and he asks Miguel to send him home. However, Miguel refuses, and other spiders, including Peter and Penny Parker, try to convince Miles that sometimes sacrifices must be made to protect the world. Despite their efforts, Miles cannot accept letting someone die for the greater good. As the confrontation escalates, Miguel traps Miles in a crystal web, but Miles uses his powers to break free and escape. During the commotion, Hobie seizes the opportunity to quit the Spider Society while the rest chase after Miles. Miles has a series of close calls but manages to outmaneuver everyone. Running toward a bullet train heading for the sky, Miguel slips up and reveals a startling truth to Miles. He is the original anomaly. The spider that bit him was not from his dimension and was never supposed to give him powers. Miguel explains that in another world, Spider-Man didn't protect them because it bit him instead. Realizing the consequences of his actions, Miguel tries to stop Miles, but Miles taunts him, claiming he lured all the spiders away from HQ. Amid their fight, Miles kicks Miguel and flies toward HQ. Sneaking back inside using invisibility, Miles activates all the computers simultaneously while Spider-Bite is busy. Miles then uses the go-home machine to return to his dimension, hoping to find a way to navigate the Spider-Verse without causing further harm. Miguel arrives just in the nick of time, desperately attempting to breach the shield before it fully activates. Unfortunately, his efforts are in vain, leaving him furious and placing the blame squarely on Gwen's shoulders. In a fit of anger, he bans her from the Spider Society and forcefully sends her back to her dimension, without her trusty watch. But before leaving, Gwen cryptically informs the others that they were meant to be the good guys. Despite Miguel's anger, he decides to take on a new mission, stopping Miles from disrupting another pivotal canon event. Back in his home, Miles finally decides to confide in his mother, revealing his true identity as Spider-Man. Recognizing the dangers that lie ahead, he believes it's time to prepare her for the challenges they will face together. However, his mother struggles to comprehend his cryptic words. It's not until later that Miles realizes he has been thrown into the wrong universe, Earth 42, where there is no Spider-Man. Here, he encounters a living Uncle Aaron, who unwittingly takes him to the rooftop, only for Miles to be knocked out by a masked assailant. As events unfold, it becomes clear that this dimension's Miles is, in fact, the Prowler. Returning to her world, Gwen finds her father dozing in front of the TV. As she contemplates leaving, her father awakens and attempts to talk to her. Gwen, determined to explain her motivations, likens her mask to a badge, a symbol of her pursuit to do good. She challenges her father to arrest her, but he reveals he can't and, in a moment of resignation, quits his job as a cop, realizing it no longer holds the same significance. Despite his uncertainty, he gives her something left by Hobie, a mysterious watch with unknown capabilities. To her surprise, Gwen discovers that the watch allows her to travel between dimensions. Returning to Earth 1610, Gwen is shocked to learn that Miles has been flung into a different universe. She takes it upon herself to confront his parents, vowing to bring him back safely. Meanwhile, in Miles' home universe, Spot makes an appearance, targeting Jefferson. At the same time, Gwen assembles her squadron of spider people with a mission to rescue Miles. They swing into action, but unfortunately, the story is to be continued, leaving the outcome uncertain.